All right, and this is going to start getting a little convoluted at this point, but bear with me. I'm going to select the goal, each of these goals, and create another group for to house them. So this group I will call adjuster, or just adjust. You'll see what it's for shortly. So I'm going to do the same for all the other goals. All right, so now that all these groups have been created, it's time to snap their pivots to the root joint of the scapula. So I'm going to grab them, hold the D key down, and snap. Every single one of these created groups are going to go there. Both the const and the adjuster. All right, and let me show you what the purpose of this adjuster is going to be, this adjuster on the goal. So if I were to grab an adjuster there, I forgot to snap that one. This adjuster would allow me to say position this goal locator wherever I want. And the objective of this trigger is to meet up with the goal to trigger and this to de-trigger, right? So as it approaches 0, it triggers. And when it goes back to location, it de-triggers. So this adjuster is going to allow me to set a position that I want to be my final trigger position. And it's going to be done for all of these. So let me zero this out and let's continue. All right, so now it's time to dump all of these trigger constraint groups underneath this resultant joint. So I'm going to put them over there. So I'm going to grab the resultant joint and parent them. So they're going to jump to location. And now if I bring everything back on the screen, we should see the type of behavior I'm going to expect when I rotate up. So this distancing would trigger the shrug. The one that goes back would trigger the retraction. And the one that goes forward will trigger the protraction. All right. But how all of these are going to be positioned from here on out is very important. So it's going to get a little weird from here on out. I hope I don't end up with any weird double transformation nonsense. But I think I'll be fine. Because another thing I do have to be mindful of is the fact that this controller can be translated. And so when it does, I need things to behave correctly. All right, so let's find a home for these goals. And actually, now that I think about it, I realize that I might have gone a little bit too far with all these constraint groups. I don't need an individual constraint group for all of these based off of what I'm about to do. So let me see if I can explain this. When the chest rotates, I want this goal system to maintain its orientation. So I want it to behave like the children of the chest are behaving. So when the chest rotates, it should also rotate just like the way the scapula is rotating and maintain its orientation in this system. But when the scapula translates, I want to make sure that this system translates with the scapula so that it doesn't start triggering a distance change when you translate. When you translate, everything should move in tandem. They should all move together. That is going to be fine for the triggers because they are parented underneath the joint, but these goals are going to be slightly different. So I realized that all I need to do this is just one parent constraint goal group. So I'm going to grab these two groups here and parent them underneath one, like so. So I don't need these two. All right, so these are all now under one and the adjusters are just under one group. With one parent group, the way I'm going to achieve its connection to the chest is to just parent it underneath the chest joint. So I'm going to grab this group, grab the chest, and go parent. So now if I grab the chest control and I rotate the system, it should all move together correctly, right? But this is what I'm about to do that I worry might produce a cyclic error. I don't think it will, but we'll see shortly. I want to make sure that this system moves, all of them move correctly when the scapular joint is translated. So what I want to do is grab my joint here, my scapular joint, and grab this parent const group and go constraint, point constraint, maintain offset, and go add. So I'm not getting any cyclic error just yet, or at all, and maybe there might be none. But I suppose what I'm trying to show is that now, if I rotate the chest, the entire system moves, right? And if I translate the scapula, the entire system moves. So if I rotate the chest and translate the scapula, the entire system moves. So no triggering will happen unless distance starts changing, and distance will only change when rotations happen, but the system will move correctly with the entire rig. So if I start doing this, I should start getting a distance trigger. All right, so this seems to work. I forgot that when you have constraints happening underneath a parent, it's fine. Like, things can control other things as long as they are all underneath one parent. If they have a parent-child relationship, as long as they are underneath that parent, they can, by themselves, control each other with no issues. And that's one thing that I just know from doing a lot of rigging. So yeah, that's the system that's going to be doing all this triggering. And now it's time to start playing around with these adjusters. And let me show you how I'm going to use them to put these goals where they belong. There is one more constraint I think might need to happen, but I may be wrong. I think having it under the chest group should be fine. It's a scale constraint, but I think it should be fine. We'll test afterwards to make sure it's scaling with the rig. And as long as it's parented under the chest, I'm pretty sure it's fine. I don't know why in my head I somehow thought I might need a scale constraint. But let's move on to setting these things up for our triggering process. What I'm going to work with now are the adjust groups. So these adjust groups here. So I'm going to start with the shrug, and I'm going to do an initial positioning, and I name them adjust because we can change them at any point in time, right? We just need to set an initial position. So for now, I'll go with whole numbers. I'll go with the 64 for the shrug, and I'll go to the protraction, and I'll go with also, I'm going to shoot for a little bit farther away. Do -50 here. And do the same for the retraction. I'll go for a 50. All right, so with what I have right now, if I was to grab the scapula or the shoulder control and I rotate it upward to shrug, you see it's closing the distance between trigger and the shrug goal. And the same would apply if I was rotating forward. It's closing the distance between the protraction trigger and the protraction goal. And because of the position constraint, if I select this whole controller and I move it, the whole system moves, so it doesn't break things when you start translating. All right, so now let's set our set-driven keys. All right, so let me open the set-driven key window. Let me keep these windows on the side here and find my set-driven key window. Now, because we're not using the distance between node, when I go to grab these nodes to get the distance, I cannot expect to find that distance parameter on the actual node. It's on the shape node. If you go in here, you'll see this distance parameter is accessible on the shape node. So for the shrug that I'm going to start with, when I select it, I have to hit the down key to access the shape node and then load that. And that's the only way I get this distance parameter. That's important, because if you just select it, you won't find anything. And I'm going to now grab my left shrug. So I'll select my mesh, go grab my skinning, load into driven, grab my left shoulder shrug. All right. And at this default position of 0, I'm going to set a key. And now this is where I'm going to do something a little bit more interesting. I'm going to grab this thing and rotate it. I'm not going to get it perfectly sitting over the top, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to go back to my adjust node, and I realize that my shrug adjust might just be a little bit too far away. So let me bring it in a little. So I'll rotate it till I have like a, okay, 46 appears to be what's best. So 46, yeah, 46 seems to be superimposed over. But this does mean that I might have to go back and reset this value. So I am going to break this connection, just to be on the safe side. I'm going to come back here to my skinning fixes, and temporarily I'll break this connection. Right. Reset this control back to 0. Okay, so at this 0 state, with left shoulder shrug selected, at this distance that I have, this 5.6 something, I'm going to set a key. That's my 0 state. And then I'm going to rotate this thing to be as close as possible. You'll notice that I'm shooting really far here. I'm going to an almost a pose where I'm not even going to be able to see what's going on in the corner there, but I'm doing that intentionally because what I'm going to do is I'm going to overdrive this blend shape. So I'm going to set it to like a 1.3 to trigger it. And I want to do that because I want it to get to its full state of 1 that I sculpted it at sooner than this extreme pose.